Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, my name is Zafaris Abdurrahman Putra Badres. My number absent is 31 in class 9G. I am from Junior High School number 2 Bandung. I will tell you a story about Roy, the son of disobedience. Roy, the son of disobedience. Once upon a time, there was a story in the fishing village of Air Manis Beach in Padang, West Sumatra. There was a widow named Adinda who lived with her son Roy. Adinda loves and pampers Roy very much. Roy then grew into a diligent and obedient child. When Adinda was old, she was only able to work as a cake seller to provide for herself and her only child. One day, Roy fell seriously ill, so that he almost lost his life, but in the end, he was saved thanks to her mother's hard work. After recovering from his illness, he was loved even more. They are mother and daughter who love each other. When Roy was an adult, he asked her mother's permission to go abroad to the city because at that time there was a large ship docked in coastal waters. Don't be, Roy. I am afraid something will happen to you. In the overseas lands, just stay here, accompany mother, said her mother, who was sad after hearing Roy's wish to go abroad. Mom, calm down. Nothing will happen to me, said Roy, holding her mother's hand. This is an opportunity, mother, because it is not certain that once a year a large ship docks at this beach. I could to change our destiny, mother. Please allow it, asked Roy. All right, mother-in-law, hurry back. I will always be waiting for you, son, her mother said, crying. Although with a heavy heart, Adinda finally allows Roy to go. Then Roy was given 7 packs of rice wrapped in banana leaves. For your provision on the way, he said as he handed it to Roy. After that, Roy left for overseas, leaving his mother alone. Day after day passed, a day that felt slow for Adinda. Every morning and evening, Adinda looks out to sea. How far have you sailed, son? He asked himself while still looking at the sea. She always prays that her child will always be safe and return quickly. Sometime later, when a ship came to dock, he always asked news about his son. Have you seen my son? Roy, is he okay? When is he coming home? He asked. But every time he asked the crew or the captain, he never got an answer. Roy never left and any items or messages with his mother. For years, Adinda kept asking questions but never got an answer until her body was getting older, and now her walk started to bend. One day, Adinda received news from the skipper who had previously taken Roy. The skipper gave Adinda happy news. Adinda, do you know? Your son now has a very large company, and he has married a beautiful girl, he said at the time. Roy, hurry up and come home, son. Mother is already all right. When are you coming home? She groaned pitifully every night. He was sure his son would come. Sure enough, not long after one sunny day from a distance a magnificent and beautiful ship was seen, sailing towards the beach. The villagers started together. They took the ship belonged to a sultan or a prince. They greeted him with joy. Adinda was very happy to hear that. She always prayed that her child would be safe and come back to visit her son. The light of joy began to come back to her. But for a month, since he received news of Roy from the captain, Roy never came back to see him. When the ship began to dock, a pair of young people were seen standing on the bridge. Their clothes glistened in the sun. Their faces were brightly decorated with smiles because they were happy to be greeted with great fanfare. Adinda also jostled close to the ship. His heart thumped when he saw the young man on the ship. He was very sure that the young man was his son, Roy. Before the elder of the village could greet them, Mr. Roy approached Roy first. He immediately hugged Roy, tightly for fear of losing his son again. Royal, my son, you're really my son, right? She said, holding back sobs with joy. Why did you not give news for so long? Roy was surprised because he was hit by the old woman who was dressed in rags. He couldn't believe that the woman was his mother. Before he could think of speaking, his beautiful wife spat and said, is this ugly woman your mother? Why did you lie to me before? Didn't you say before that your mother was a noble equal to me? He said sarcastically. Hearing his wife's scathing words, Roy immediately pushed his mother to the ground. Crazy woman, I'm not your son, he said harshly. Adinda did not believe in her son's behavior. She sat down and said, Roy, my son, I am your mother's son. Why are you being like this kid? Roy ignored his mother's words. He will not acknowledge his mother. He was ashamed of his wife. Seeing that the girl was kneeling down to hug his legs, Roy kicked her while saying, Hey, crazy girl, my mother is not like you, destitute and dirty. The old woman lay on the sand, crying and hurt. The people who saw him were stunned and then went home. Adinda fainted and lay alone. When he realized Armani's beach was deserted, Adinda also prayed and said an oath that Roy would lose his enormous property and company because he was disobedient to his own mother. After a few weeks, Roy was tricked by someone, and he lost almost all of his wealth, and his wife was angry with Roy and wanted a divorce. Roy and his wife divorced, and Roy is now poor and has lost all his possessions and vehicles, house, and other assets. Roy returned to his village and tried to approach his mother, but it turned out that his mother had died long ago. Roy also cried and regretted his action, but the grief could not make Roy's mother come back to life. To live. Roy cried all day and prayed that all his sins would be forgiven to his mother, but it was too late. While Roy was sleeping, Roy dreamed of his mother, and Roy cried in front of his mother, and Roy apologized to his mother. But his mother only smiled at Roy, and Roy woke up from his dream. Roy also lives in regret, and Roy cannot live in peace. Roy could only cry every day, regretting what he had done to his own birth mother. The moral message that we can take from the story is not to be disobedient to your biological mother and not to be arrogant because you have a company or abundant wealth, because if it weren't for your parents, you probably wouldn't be able to be a successful person later. Be devoted to both parents. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.